Hello you wonderful people and welcome back to the Crested Gaming Lounge. In today's video I will give you a review of a very unique FPS game called Crossout. Yes, you heard right, this is an FPS game, however it's very different in the sense that instead of you controlling a soldier or something similar like that, you are maneuvering a vehicle fitted with various types of weapons around the battlefield. The game feels and looks like you merged Rocket League together with COD or some other similar FPS game. You are a survivor in a post-apocalyptic world, like most of these type of games are, like Twisted Metal and all that stuff, in which the person or faction with the machine that has the most firepower and durability is king. You start out the game with a blank slate, literally. You join the faction called the Engineers, and you get a small array of vehicle parts from which you can then construct your first machine of war. I did mention factions. There is a few factions. The first one I did mention that you come in contact with is the Engineers. The Engineers is, like I mentioned before, the first faction that you come in contact with, and it's your biggest source of aid and vehicle parts. When you start out in Crossout, they will teach you everything you need to know about the basics of the game. So they're basically like the tutorial faction you come in contact with. After a while, however, you will have to pick a second faction to join, and then you have to choose between the Lunatics. I know, it is exactly as ridiculous as it sounds. The Lunatics' weapon of choice is melee weapons and shotguns, and likes to ambush people with fast and speedy vehicles. Nomads. They like to hit their enemy from afar and prefer fast and maneuverable vehicles with high-tech gear such as cloaking devices and drones. The Scavengers. They prefer big and heavy armored vehicles mixed with long-ranged, big and clunky cannons and grenade weapons. The Steppenwolves is the ultimate military force, and they plan all their encounters in great detail. They use powerful howitzers and automatic weapons. Their vehicles are not very maneuverable, but they don't really need to be as they're so tactically, inclined. Dawn's Children. Dawn's Children love to use very high-end technology, such as having hover engines instead of tires or tracks for their vehicles. This makes them very fast, and they can get over terrain that would be hard for others to get through. They prefer mid-ranged plasma weapons to take out their enemy. These are very effective, but you need to be mid-ranged, a bit closer than the others. Very cool though. Firestarters, another one of my favorites. I do prefer the Firestarters and the Lunatics. The Firestarters is a faction that uses flamethrowers, surprise, I know, in close combat to heat up the enemy vehicle's parts. This makes it easier for other people to shoot them off. So it just makes it easier for your teammates to cripple the enemy. Or they also use catapults to throw barrels filled with incendiary materials out into the battlefield to basically control the battlefield for you and your team. They can also get up close or pin them down with using a harpoon. So they have a wide variety of weapons. They're all over the place. Very difficult to master, but so good. Vehicle creation. The vehicle creation in Crossout is like nothing I have ever seen before. You can literally make anything your heart desires. I can only compare it to a box of randomly assorted Legos. You can build whatever you wish out of those pieces. Of course, there are some restrictions to this, such as you need a cabin to make the vehicle drivable, and some sort of means to propel yourself, such as tires or hover engines or tracks. But that is like, those are the two requirements. You need to be able to get around, and you need a cabin for it to work. That's it. It is also very important to figure out where to place your weapons to be able to hit the opponent. If you, for example, place a weapon on the hood of your cabin, it cannot hit an enemy behind you, and so on. You also must try to protect your weapons, as the enemy will try to target those first to cripple you, because without your weapons in Crossout, you're basically worthless. You just drive around waiting to die. Quests. I know I said this was an FPS. It has some MMO elements though, because you do get quests. In the main storyline, for example, you earn reputation with the different factions, as well as earning materials needed to craft new parts and weapons such as copper and scrap metal. You also get daily challenges to complete to get more scrap metal, copper, and other such materials. And also engineer badges that you can trade in for bigger stacks and rarer materials. Gameplay and combat. Combat mostly, I would say, in this game. You have a few game modes to choose from in Crossout. You can either face off against other players in massive team fights, where you pin your creation against others and hope that yours is the superior and that your team has your back, because you need a lot of tactics. I've played in many random matches where the team is all over the place. You will lose. You need a solid tactic and communication. You can also play with other players against AI-controlled enemies and massive boss vehicles in fast-paced raids that demands communication and teamwork as well. This is sort of where I think the MMO element comes in here, because they do have these raid battles where you literally, it is like, you know, an MMORPG dungeon. You go in there, wipe out some trash, and then you face off against a boss or something. Very similar. There is a story mode with missions to complete as well, just like in any other FPS game. However, like many of these FPS games like Call of Duty, the storyline is not as important. It is there, but it's not very flushed out. It's sort of just there to propel some kind of story, or the game would be, you know, just PvP. That works too, but most FPS games have some kind of small storyline for you to follow. If you like chaos, then the game mod Bedlam is for you. It's a full-out free-for-all, no bars hold. There's no really given reward in these. You just duke it out against other players to, you know, I guess you can hone your abilities a little bit. There is also a Battle Royale mode that was added sort of late. I haven't really had an opportunity to try it out yet. Combat in Crossout is very interesting and unique compared to other FPS games, as you have to not only drive your vehicle, but also aim your weapons and hit vital parts of the enemy machine. Your cabin of your vehicle is the most vulnerable, and as such you need to build your machine to protect your cabin at all costs. The graphics I would say is nothing super spectacular. However, this is not really any reason for this game to be, you know, like high resolution graphics and stuff, because the matches are so fast paced that you don't really have any time to look around at your surroundings. That it's not a big deal in this game. Bugs and glitches. I have played this game probably like 6 months all in all, and I haven't really encountered any bugs or glitches in this game at all. It runs smooth, it doesn't have any hiccups, it's perfect. Audio. The music is nothing special in my opinion, it's just some basic background rock music. The audio is really good, however. The different engine sounds make each cabin feel unique and interesting. The weapon sounds give you a good feeling of the power of the weapons, and the impact of enemy vehicles really sounds awesome. Difficulty. The game is not very difficult to get into as a new player, but it gets more and more difficult as you play it, and make vehicles with higher power scores as you get matched against people of similar power scores. And you also unlock more difficult PvE raids as you level up. I really enjoy the matchmaking system in this game, because it seems like a really fair system. I haven't really encountered any match really where I felt like it was an unfair matchup, so they seem to have that down really well actually. Right, my overall opinion about this game. I do highly recommend this game to everyone who likes FPS games, but also feel like something is missing. The game is so unique from anything I've ever seen or played before. I would say the only thing that comes close to Crossout would be like the Twisted Metal games, if you played those games. It just amped that up by 10, probably. I very seldom had this much fun with an FPS game in a long time, and I think that has a lot to do with the fact that you're so free to build your vehicle, and it has the system where you can collect parts and raw materials, be able to craft better and stronger weapons and parts. The game is free to play and demand very little performance-wise of your PC, so I do really think this game deserves way more attention than it has gotten so far. Right, you wonderful people. That does it actually for my review of this very unique game. Please tell me in the comments below as well what you think about the game, and also what you want to see on the channel in the future. If you like the video, please boop that like button. And if you like me, consider pressing that sub button and become a part of the Gecko Lounge. And if you'd like to see more of me, I also stream over at Twitch TV. The link will be in the description below, so go check that out. Until the next time, people, I hope you have a great morning, day, and night, wherever you might be. And I will see you in the next video. Bye bye!